Just Bring It was a fun and exciting addition to the SmackDown series, but it felt like something was missing, and at the time I just couldn't put my finger on it. That was until late 2002 when the newest addition to the series, Shut Your Mouth, hit the PlayStation 2. Now, this was a great time in the WWE as far as the talent pool goes. With WCW and ECW gone, most of wrestling's biggest stars were here in the WWE, and the game reflects that. I mean, how can you argue with a roster containing The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker, RVD, Kurt Angle, Jericho, Booker T, Benoit, Edge, DDP, Ric Flair, Hogan, Kevin Nash, Brock Lesnar, Guerrero, HBK... Seriously, I can go on and on. This roster is loaded. And finally, for the first time in a SmackDown game, we get a nice selection of legit pay-per-view arenas, and they look really fantastic. You'll also find the standards like Raw, SmackDown, and Heat. Oh, and this game is quite well known for letting you climb upon the chair at the King of the Ring pay-per-view event and the fist on the SmackDown stage, which, as you can imagine, usually leads to some pretty epic events. Or fails. Entrances are neither hit or miss for me here. They do look better as the game has improved visuals and animations, but at the same time we still see instances where a superstar will be walking down the ramp and then suddenly he appears on the ring apron in a split second. I myself like a nice full entrance from front to back, but this isn't a huge complaint by any means. The presentation department feels completely overhauled. Almost all of the moves have been reanimated and a ton of new ones have been added. The gameplay has been slowed down again just ever so slightly, and it helps the game feel a little bit more on the realistic side. It handles in the same fashion but just looks and feels so much better. The attention to small detail is also very appreciated in this game, like being able to choose whether to taunt, attack, or just walk away from your opponent post-match. Little things like this made you realize they took the development of this game very seriously, and I for one was very impressed. The graphics are also greatly improved. One of my biggest complaints in Just Bring It was the fact that it didn't look all that much better than Know Your Role, but this game is a completely different story. It looks fantastic. Faces look spot on and full of detail, attires are clean and crisp. I honestly don't think I've seen Hogan look so lifelike in a video game. Not even 2K14. Now at this point in gaming, most match types have already been added to the series, so there isn't much in terms of new game modes, but they did fix a few of the not-so-polished modes. Hell in a Cell is finally fixed, and what I mean by that is it's finally a proper cell and not just a cage match with a roof. You can finally get out of the ring and walk around in between the ring and the cell. Because of this, it just feels a lot better playing this mode. A jackknife through the roof to a 50-year-old man also adds a little to the mode. I'm not gonna lie. With new weapon moves and ways to use these weapons, any matches involving weapons feel very fresh and new. Take TLC for example. You can now use grapple moves with weapons, which lead to awesome new moves that were never seen before in a wrestling game. You can also set up tables and ladders in the corners of the ring for even more exciting new moves. And this led to a lot, and I mean a lot, of TLC matches between me and my friends growing up. There's nothing like throwing your opponent onto a ladder, then hitting the 5-star frog splash on him. Well, actually, you could always set up a table outside of the ring, throw your opponent onto it, and perform that same 5-star frog splash from atop a ladder placed inside of the ring. Friggin' awesome. The hardcore matches pretty much follow suit to what we saw in Just Bring It. There are still a lot of backstage areas to fight in. Well, actually, it's kind of beyond backstage. You can fight in a New York subway, jump on the train, and fight in Times Square. I would say that's maybe taking it a bit too far, but honestly, when you think about it, well, all I gotta say is Stone Cold versus Booker T, grocery store. That'd actually be kind of cool. I'd like to see that in a wrestling game. Nevertheless, these areas add a lot to the replay value, and I would really like to see a lot more expansive areas like this in the future WWE titles. I always had a lot of fun taking the battle all over the place. And what WWE game would be complete without the Royal Rumble? Well, it's back, and nothing's really changed. It's the same format we've seen for quite a while now in these games, but plenty of fun. Now, did I mention the NWO is in the game? Too sweet. There's no Scott Hall though. He was going to be a part of the game, but due to his issues and him being released from the company, they cut him from the final product. You can still make a good-looking, created version of him though. And speaking of that mode, the Create a Wrestler was expanded quite a bit going into Shut Your Mouth. The faces have a lot more detail, and it's quite easy to create a lot of real-life wrestlers that aren't in the game due to a lot of pre-made, created parts being loaded into the mode. Create a Move is back again, and needless to say, I use it almost exclusively for completely ridiculous-looking taunts, walks, and fighting stances. The completely revamped season mode takes the game to an all-new level. The mode was expanded to include 2 in-game years opposed to the previous title's 1, and you actually start the season out during the brand extension draft. You'll wrestle for either Raw or SmackDown, and that is if you don't select a lower card or created wrestler. In that case, you'll start out working on Sunday Night Heat. The mode features many cutscenes and plenty of decisions for the player to make along the way. Also returning is the first-person free roaming mode, where you can encounter other superstars and explore the many backstage areas. The overall sound is a lot better in this installment, from music to sound effects, everything. The music is more on the hard rock side of things and a lot less on the industrial whatever it was side. And though the announcing is far from perfect, it is a bit more expansive than before. This time, Cole and Taz have been replaced with JR and the King. And there's still a lot of awkward silences, but this time they at least speak full sentences, for the most part. And Hogan's Voodoo Child theme actually made it into the game, which is quite surprising, as the WWE usually just like to replace themes instead of actually pay to use them. The proper NWO theme also made the cut, unlike WrestleMania 18 for the GameCube. This game was a damn near perfect game for the time. In fact, playing it now, I was thinking to myself how, even though the newer titles have taken so many steps forward, there were also some things the current titles don't have that this game does. This was during a time when the WWE's ego was bigger than ever. I mean, they just conquered the competition, and in Vince's mind, there was no bigger time than now to go big or go home. The product was great, and the game reflects that. You can pick this game up for next to nothing, and it's worth every penny.